Hello, YouTube folks, peeps, watchers, friends, subscribers, and newcomers. Today I want to talk about some simple concepts for beginner guitar players again. And I want to look at a couple really simple chords for you to work on. These are things I've learned my students really take to and have good luck getting done and moving along. I'm representing Team Gryffindor today. I'm all crimsoned out. I'm going to play my red guitar, though they don't match still. Red, whatever. Anyway, we're in standard tuning, E, A, D, G, B, E. Give you an A note for reference. Got a rattling snare over here we're going to shut off. There we go. All right. That's our A. Just can tune to that, all right? And then tune the rest of your guitar accordingly. All right, so looking at some real simple chord shapes, things you can do as a beginner to get started. Now, the first chord I'm going to show you is an E minor chord, which is one that involves all 6 strings. Really easy to play. The way I'm going to show you isn't how you're going to play it for the rest of your life, but it is an option, and it's a great way to start because it involves your strongest 2 fingers and makes our change to the next chord really easy. Eventually, you'll change tact and come at it a little differently and use 2 different fingers. But we're going to use our first and second fingers today. We're going to put our first finger on the A string, 2nd fret, kind of like we did our E power chord. All right, and then we're going to put our second finger on the 2nd fret of the D string. And what we're going to do is we're going to play all 6 strings. Like that. You have a nice kind of lush chord, Now, if we think back to our picking and stuff and things we've talked about in the past, we're counting to 4 for a measure. So we're doing quarter notes. We're doing 4 notes per measure. Quarter notes, 4 quarters in a dollar, 4 beats in a measure, all right? So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to strum down on the 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, a couple things to watch for when you're doing this. If you let up on your pressure with your fingers, you're going to get some dead notes. You'll hear a bunch of the strings ring, or you'll cover strings below by letting your fingers touch. You want to build a bridge and arch over the strings nice and cleanly, okay? Think of it like that. Your strings are like little roadways, and your fingers need to arch over the top so that stuff can travel underneath. That's one thing to watch for. They lay down, they touch the other strings, they muffle them, or you don't press hard enough on the notes you want fretted, and then you get kind of a dull sound. You don't get the full voicing of the chord. And yeah, what I do to check my work is I used to, when I play a new chord, I just go through each string. Make sure everything sounds nice and clear. And like I was talking about, if you're not pushing hard enough on a string, you get something like this. Or you're going to muffle these other strings. You're going to go. Want to watch that, so adjust accordingly. You can take your right hand up and move things, especially if you're just starting out. You might not have control of those fingers yet to really adjust them with just the left hand. I used to reach up and grab them and manipulate them to help me get myself settled there as far as proper form. And proper form is a big thing as far as making you sound good and be efficient in your playing. So that's an E minor chord, all 6 strings, fretting the 2nd fret of the A and D strings with our 1st and 2nd fingers and playing like this. All right, so there's when we're playing the downstrokes, the 4s, the 1, 2, 3, 4, the quarter notes on this, okay? Now the next chord I want to do is a little bit trickier, but it's directly related to this, this chord here. This is an E minor. So what we're going to do is we're going to stay kind of where we're at with our first finger. Is going to stay on the 2nd fret of the A string. We're going to use our middle finger now and move it to the 3rd fret of the E string, the big E string. So I've got this 3-2 shape. Now it doesn't quite sound the way I want it to. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my ring finger or my pinky, whichever one you prefer, and play the 3rd fret of the high E string. So I basically have this kind of shape where I'm covering the 3rd fret on the 2 outside strings with my middle finger and either my pinky or ring finger, and then that 1st finger stays on the 2nd fret of the A string like it did in the E minor chord. And this chord is called G major, but we just say G. We don't dictate major or minor. If it's just a major chord, it's just the letter, right? So if it's a minor chord, we call it a minor, but we never really say G major. We just say G. So that chord, and you want to go through and test this one, especially because you've got, some things going on here. You're arching over a couple different ways. Your hand might angle funny, and you just have to really be picky and make sure you're pressing good and hard. Nice and clear, right? So that's a G chord, all right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to do 4 of the E minor chord and then follow it with 4 of the G chord. Now, you want to go nice and slow because your change is going to be tricky. When you're doing something new, you practice each one from like a cold start, like coming from nothing. You can just strum them once and kind of make sure you can get them to go. And you do that a bunch, very helpful. I found a lot of students find that the G chord is harder than the E minor. So what I'm going to do when I practice this is, and you can do this too, is you play the G chord first, you strum that 4 times, and then you change to the E minor. That gives you a better start, but you're going to end up doing it the opposite way anyway. Just in the nature of how it goes, you're doing every other chord, so you're going to have to be able to get back to the G cleanly from an E minor. So it's like starting from an E minor, but you're not going to really start the exercise from E minor. You're going to start from the G, okay? So I'm going to go as slow as you need to make that change happen. Don't strum fast and then do your fingers and then jump on it. Nice and even, nice and clean. So I'm going to go like this, nice and slow. 1, 2, 3, 4. G, 2, 3, 4. E minor. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Go back. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, what I found early on is you can take a little time and jump off of that chord shape after you play it the 4th time in either case. And as long as some things in the middle are ringing, you're going to have a decent kind of carryover of sound, and it gives you a little extra time to switch to that next chord on the 1. So if I'm playing like G, 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm already like, my fingers are already off, once I finish that 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm already, you hear it kind of breathe, I'm going to the E minor right there. So when I go to strum that downstroke on the 1 for E minor, the chord is present, the chord is there and ready to play, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. So those 2 chords are pretty good ones to get down because they're often played together. You'll find them in the same songs in a lot of cases because G and E minor are linked, because the G major scale and the E minor scale are the same notes, only different starting points, and both chords are located, of course, in each scale, right? And if you have a song, a lot of times it's in G. Sometimes you'll play G, C, and D, and these other chords, and they will touch the E minor or a couple other chords that come up in there, all right? So there's a bit about that. Now, things you can do to kind of make that a little more challenging. I'm doing all this, the downs, the 1, 2, 3, 4. You can start to throw in your ands, your upstrokes, and that's 8th notes, right? So we play 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, when we come back up, we say and hit the strings as we're going back up. and this creates double the note. So 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Eighth notes. You have eight notes you play in a measure, and you can keep going and keep subdividing the notes further down and adding more for speed or whatever. But these are real simple and super common type rhythms to play. Eighth notes are played everywhere. One thing to do with eighth notes is think of your picking hand as like a machine. It just doesn't stop. Even if you're not going to play certain ands, your hand is still moving. I don't want you to like strum and then like stop and then wait and then come back up. No, you need to keep your hand moving. And it can be very frustrating watching people play acoustic guitar or strum on TV and try to figure out what they're playing, because you hear the breaks, but you don't see the breaks because their hand is constantly moving, right? But it starts with this basic pattern when you play all 8 notes. So if I do that G, it's going to sound like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. All right? And the way you hit the strings, you get like a pop on the higher strings. And one thing to remember too when you're strumming, especially when you're going back and forth, don't dig in too deep. Gently kind of brush the strings. If you dig in, your pick's going to get stuck and hung up as you come back up, and it's going to be harder on your strings, and you won't get as efficient motion as you need, you know? So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. So that's the same exercise using eighth notes instead of just the downstrokes. Now I talked earlier briefly about breaks. Let's do this. Let's take the and of 4 out. So our count is going to be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So I'm not going to pick the and of 4, but watch, my hand will continue moving. So when I get to the next one, it's a downstroke. So it's going to be like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 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 So you see what I mean? My hand kept moving, but my the break was audible. It wasn't visual. You know, that hand keeps moving. You do the same thing if I take out the and of 2. So I play 1 and 2, 3 and 4. But my hand is going to go 1 and 2, 3 and 4. 1 and 2, 3 and 4. And you can say miss, or you can just make a breath noise or anything, but you're not playing the and of 2 or the and of 4. What that sounds like is something like this. Like that, okay? So you can start to mix these up and do some fun stuff. You can put your misses wherever you want to. You could do misses on the even numbers. You can do misses on beats 1 and 2, beats 2 and 3, beats 3 and 4. You could do a miss only on the and of 1. You could miss the numbers if you want. So you could do like 1 and 2 and 4 and, where I miss 3, which sounds really cool. It gives you kind of a syncopated feel, which means playing on the upbeat. Syncopated is just a really crazy sounding word that means centering your playing on the upbeat, you know, which is the ands. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So what you'll find there is your tendency will be to, especially on something like that, is to play like one instead of missing. You know, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Instead of hitting the and up, you're going to want to play it down because you missed a downstroke. Remember, constant motion. The right arm is a machine. It doesn't stop down and up. You just miss the strings when you want to, and that builds your rhythms. And a lot of iconic strumming patterns and ideas are built on that, those kinds of ideas. And once you get and practice a bunch of these, you get a real good feel for how they sound and where they fit, and what songs use them. You know what I mean? There's been a ton of examples out there, and you could pick them up pretty quick. One thing I found that was pretty cool, as you play through these patterns, if you practice them, some of them are going to sound, once you get down the road a bit in the practice, the same. But remember where one's at. You should always count, because that makes all the difference in the world. If you're thinking it's one thing, like you think you're missing on the and of 3, and you're really missing on the and of 1 and not the and of 3, and the whole band's playing and you get off, you're not going to fall back in line very quick. But there's a little bit about strumming and some simple chords here to practice. Please take your time, enjoy them and play them and practice them and make them your religion, so to speak, and kind of just get into doing these things, because you will pick up a bunch of songs the more you learn like this. And we'll cover some of those on the way as we get going. But please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you like what you see. You can follow us at www.brgmusic.com. We're located in Perry, Iowa, just northwest of Des Moines, about a half hour. And we have a lot of cool stuff to look at if you ever want to stop in and talk and just chill and play guitar. We're here. Generally right now we're here Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, 2 to 7 on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then Saturdays 11 to 3. We can make appointments by calling 515-329-0120 or emailing us via our webpage, www.brgmusic.com. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please stay tuned. I've got more coming, and rock on. Later.